Why wasn't he arrested?
When somebody harms a child, if it's a stranger, the way the law looks at it, the way the law responds, it's quite strong. When it's somebody within a family, within a home, it is responded to less. And if you can imagine for the child, in fact, that's in many ways worse.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Yapping with Bekah, or whatever this podcast is called. Anyway, welcome back, friends, to The Stars Are Falling. This is episode 2 of season 1 of our podcast. We are going to go ahead and dive right into today's topic. Today, we are going to talk about a man who is loved by many and will probably be loved by many for the rest of time. But as for me and myself, I will forever have my eyebrows raised at Brad Pitt. Before we get into the highly controversial things that Brad Pitt has done, I want to give you guys some background on Brad Pitt and where he came from, his family, who spawned him, etc., etc. So let's get into it. William Bradley Pitt was born in Shawnee, Oklahoma on December 18th of 1963 to parents William and Jane. Brad was the firstborn child, but the family would later go on to add 2 more children to their family, and those were Brad Pitt's younger siblings, Douglas and Julie. Pitt family came from very humble beginnings, with Brad's mother working as a school counselor and his father running a one-man trucking company. Brad's parents raised their children with very conservative values and identified themselves as Southern Baptists. The family would later move from Shawnee, Oklahoma to Springfield, Missouri. Brad has gone on to describe Springfield as Mark Twain and Jesse James country. As someone who is just a hop, skip, and a jump from Springfield myself, I can tell you with certainty there are no lies detected there. Missouri is not nicknamed Misery for no reason. I mean, there are good parts and bad parts, just like any other state, but there is a lot of reasons why Missouri has a not so great reputation.
In scriptures we read over and over, Jesus commanding us to feed the hungry, to help the poor. And while we can't solve the problem of world hunger, we can't feed every starving person.
While living in Springfield, Brad attended Kickapoo High School, where he was really involved in sports and other extracurricular activities, such as the Forensics Club. Brad also enjoyed theater in high school and would often be involved in the school musicals. In 1982, Brad Pitt graduated from high school and he was accepted into the University of Missouri to pursue a degree in journalism with a focus on advertising. 2 weeks before finals of Brad Pitt's senior year in college, he decided to drop out of college completely and move to Los Angeles. This was something that Brad had been thinking about doing for a while, as his degree in journalism showed him a real love and passion for film. After moving to Los Angeles, he immediately enrolled himself in acting lessons and would support himself through any kind of odd job that he could find around the city. It took Brad a decent amount of time to establish himself in Los Angeles. It took him about 5 years to land any kind of on-screen role, and even those early gigs were uncredited roles. But in May of 1987, Brad finally landed his first credited role on NBC's soap opera Another World. From there, Brad landed roles on different sitcoms such as Dallas, Growing Pains, and Trial and Error. Now, you guys know me. I am not going to sit here and go through every single show Brad Pitt was in, every movie he was in. We will talk a little bit about the notable ones, but I am not going to bore you guys with every detail of this man's existence, because we are all really just here for the tea, right? Before making it big, Brad did have a few short-term relationships with other figures in the industry, such as the singer Sunita. Brad and Sunita dated from 1986 to 1988, and both have looked back at this relationship with fond memories. Brad also briefly dated actress Jill Schoelen after ending things with Sunita. The two of them met on set of a horror film that they were both in called Cutting Glass, but this was also just a brief fling, it seemed. Brad also briefly dated voice actress E.G. Daily after breaking things off with Jill. E.G. described Brad as a very intense guy who would often let the characters that he was playing bleed into his real life. He was very serious and intense about his work. The two were not together romantically very long at all, but they did say that they have maintained a friendship over the years. Now, this next one, in my opinion, is kind of tea. So, Brad Pitt starred in a sitcom called Head of Class alongside Robin Givens, Mike Tyson's ex-wife. While Robin Givens was going through her separation from professional boxer Mike Tyson, she grew very close to Brad. Now, I have a lot of issues with Mike Tyson. I think he's done a lot of terrible things in his life and in his career, but we'll save it for another day. We'll save it for another time. He has a bad history with women. Let's just say that. I just have like a Tyga level of hatred towards Mike Tyson. And you guys already know how I feel about Tyga. There were a lot of rumors swirling at the time that Robin and Brad Pitt were hooking up, and they were often seen getting cozy together, but their romance was never confirmed. But Mike Tyson wrote a memoir in 2013, and he exposed the hell out of Brad Pitt. Mike Tyson claimed in his memoir that one day when he was pulling into Robin's driveway while he was still legally married to her, he pulled into the driveway and Brad Pitt's car was there. He then allegedly went inside and caught Robin and Brad Pitt in bed together. I don't think Brad Pitt has ever commented on this situation publicly, but Robin has long denied the rumors of any kind of affair with Brad Pitt, but she did admit that Mike did catch the two of them in Brad's car together, but she denied that Mike ever caught them hooking up in bed together. Messy. After that situationship, Brad Pitt went on to date teen actress Christina Applegate. When the two started dating, Christina was 17 and Brad was 25. Christina was the age of a junior in high school, and Brad was the age of someone who had long graduated from college. That's nice. The press painted the end of this relationship, the falling out of this relationship, in such a funny way, in my opinion. So Christina Applegate attended the 1989 MTV Movie Awards with Brad Pitt as her date, but later ditched him for another man. It's never been revealed who this mystery man was that she ditched Brad Pitt for, but the press was highly empathetic to Brad Pitt because he got ditched by his high school age lover. Isn't it funny when high schoolers act their age and the creepy older guy who's trying to pursue them gets burned in the end? Don't you just love that? I love that. Now let's jump to 1990 when Brad Pitt starred in a movie alongside Juliette Lewis called Too Young to Die. In this movie, Brad Pitt played a substance user who took advantage of a young runaway. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more to the movie, but that is the basic outline. I don't know if Brad was dabbling into method acting or what, but he did actually take advantage of the actress who played this young runaway, in my opinion. Juliette Lewis was 16 years old when she starred in this movie alongside Brad Pitt, who was 26 years old. A lot of people during filming on set believed that there was something going on between Juliette and Brad, despite the massive age gap, and this suspicion was confirmed upon the movie's release. So when Juliette turned 17 and Brad was 27, the two announced publicly that they were in a relationship. I don't know how this was co-signed by the media and the public, but it absolutely was. Before that, the age of consent in California was 10, but that's a conversation for another day. But at the time that Brad Pitt began dating Juliette Lewis, the age of consent had been 18 for over 60 years. Like, please. Juliette and Brad dated until 1993, and they did star in the movie California together before their breakup. Brad didn't have his real big break into the film industry until about 1994 interview with The Vampire Chronicles, alongside Tom Cruise, Christian Slater, Kirsten Dunst, and many others. He won his first awards in the industry from this role, taking home 2 MTV Movie Awards, despite the fact that many people who watched the movie and the audience did not really enjoy Brad Pitt's performance and thought that he did absolutely terrible. I've personally never seen the movie, and it doesn't look like one that I will be putting on my watch later list. Respectfully. In 1995, Brad Pitt would go on to land a role alongside Gwyneth Paltrow and Kevin Spacey, and Brad would go on to date Gwyneth Paltrow for a considerable amount of time. This movie was called Seven, and it is still a very well-known movie to this day. It was a wildly successful movie, and Brad Pitt's performance was praised among viewers and critics. But okay, back to some tea. Like I said before, Brad started dating Gwyneth Paltrow after they met on set of Seven. Over a year into their relationship, Brad Pitt admitted to the media that he was still in love with Juliette Lewis. But Brad and Gwyneth seemed to remain a strong and successful couple, and Brad would later go on to call Gwyneth the love of his life. Two even got engaged, but before making it to the altar, they split. They broke up. The two rekindled their friendship later in life, but nothing romantic. Throughout the 90s, Brad was cast in many other movies that turned out to be massively successful, and he was effectively climbing the industry ladder. In 1998, Brad Pitt had the honor and privilege of dating our mother herself, Jennifer Aniston. Public was genuinely obsessed with this relationship, literally obsessed with this relationship. Brad and Jennifer were the it couple. They were both immensely talented. They were both extremely attractive. They really seemed to glow together. They looked really good together. Within a year of dating, the couple was engaged and seemed to be happy as ever. In 1999, the same year that he proposed to Jennifer Aniston, he also starred in Fight Club, which I believe, as someone from the younger generation, was a very imperative role in his success. It was such a successful movie. It's still quoted to this day. So many people think of Brad Pitt and immediately think of the movie Fight Club. His career was on fire. His public image was amazing. His love life seemed perfect. Things could not be better for Brad Pitt, at least from the outside looking in, of course. In Y2K, Brad and Jennifer were married in Malibu, and they had a beautiful wedding ceremony with 200 of their closest friends and family in attendance. In the following years after their marriage, the media acted an ass to Jennifer Aniston, truly. Jennifer and her body, typically in a bikini, often graced the covers of many magazines, proclaiming she was pregnant. Tabloids were even photoshopping her body to look like she had a bump to try to drive home this story that she was pregnant. They would exploit any kind of angle or bad photo that Jennifer took, even just the normal bloating that we all get. Tabloids would take those photos and put her all over the covers of magazines, saying that she was gaining weight, saying she was pregnant with twins, saying this and that. It was just gross. I cannot imagine dealing with like the literal psychological turmoil that the press in the early 2000s put so many celebrities through. I mean, Jessica Simpson, Britney Spears, like we could go on and on. Obviously, the press can still be like that, but it was just, the press was so focused on women's bodies back at that time. It was just unbelievable. And I imagine that is why Jennifer Aniston has always been more so of a private person. In 2002, the couple launched their own production company called Plan B Entertainment, and they would go on to produce very notable movies such as Troy and the 2005 rendition of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. In 2003, Jennifer was questioned by the media if Brad was truly the love of her life, and she had a little bit of trouble answering this question. She danced around the question a little bit, didn't give a definitive answer, and obviously this caused the public to speculate that maybe things were not as good at home as they seemed on the red carpet. In 2004, after years of the public speculating that she was pregnant, Jennifer shared that she was ready to start trying for a family with her husband, Brad. She expressed that she believed that she could work while pregnant and with a baby, and she just expressed very excitedly that she was ready to settle down with a family. Shockingly, just a few months later, after spending New Year's 2005 vacationing together, Brad and Jennifer shared that they were separating. The public was absolutely shocked by this, and immediately rumors of an affair, infidelity, cheating began to swirl, because why else would this seemingly perfect couple break up? 2 months after this announcement, Jennifer officially filed for divorce from Brad, citing irreconcilable differences, and asked the judge to immediately restore her last name from Pitt to Aniston. As someone who has personally been through a divorce themselves, let me tell you, there is no better feeling when the judge restores your last name, especially if your marriage ended badly. It's like taking your identity back, your life back. It's such a healing part of the divorce process for some people, me included. The couple's divorce went through court quickly and was finalized in October of 2005. When Jennifer was questioned about why her marriage ended, she was always extremely respectful and extremely well-spoken. You never saw Jennifer making any kind of jab at Brad, despite the media and the public siding with her, despite not knowing the circumstances of why their marriage ended. But we all know what happened. And honestly, let me just give Jennifer her flowers for not dragging that swine through the mud. Less than a month after Jennifer Aniston formally filed for divorce from Brad Pitt, Brad was seen vacationing in Africa alongside Angelina Jolie and her 3-year-old son, Maddox. The three were seen staying in luxury villas in Kenya, and in the photos that were snapped, the three seemed to be very comfortable with one another. This didn't seem like a new fling by any means. And Angelina Jolie had long established herself as a mother bear to her adopted son, Maddox. It would seem out of character for her to be vacationing with her brand new boyfriend in a different country with her child, unless he wasn't her brand new boyfriend. See, Brad and Angelina had developed a rapport at this point. They had met in early 2004, right around the time that Jennifer Aniston announced to the public that she was ready to settle down and have a baby with her husband. Angelina and Brad were growing close on set of the movie that they both starred in, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Disgusting, messy. Learn to have some self-control, seriously. When your prefrontal cortex is long developed and you are still cheating, it is time for therapy. Okay, and Jennifer was questioned by the media about how she felt seeing her husband, who she was still legally married to, vacationing in a different country with another woman and her child. Jennifer described it as not the highlight of her year. Understandably, she expressed very clearly to the public that she had no desire to be a part of any kind of a love triangle, and made it very clear that she was not defined by her marriage, and she was ready to move on from her relationship with Brad and encourage everyone else to do the same along with her. I have so much respect for how Jennifer Aniston handled this entire situation. I don't know if she just has the best PR reps in the world, or if she is just truly as strong and as wise and as intelligent of a woman that I think she is. But either way, I bow to her. She is such a queen. I would have been doing a world tour exposing that man. If I was in that situation, I would have gotten my bag. I would have gotten paid. She's a better woman than me. Brad and Angelina did later admit to falling in love while Brad was still married to Jennifer. Duh. You didn't need to tell us that. Angelina claims that she did not know much about Brad's personal life. All she knew was that he had a lot of respect for Jennifer Aniston and that he was clearly in a relationship with his best friend. Obviously, she was wrong about the respect thing, and she knew that. Angelina Jolie says that it wasn't until towards the end of filming Mr. and Mrs. Smith that they both realized that they both had feelings for one another that they had just been holding back. Brad did not say a word about any of this publicly until 2 years after his divorce from Jennifer was finalized. And when he did speak about it, he shared that him and Jennifer now have a very close friendship. Soon after being publicly rumored an item in 2005, Angelina Jolie adopted another child, a little girl who she named Zahara. A few months later, in January of 2006, Angelina Jolie changed her two children's last names to Jolie-Pitt. Later that month, Brad and Angelina Jolie confirmed that they were pregnant with their first biological baby. Brad and Angelina's baby, Shiloh, was born in May of 2006. The following year, the couple adopted their fourth child from Vietnam, a little boy named Pax. Through this time, while actively and rapidly expanding their family, the couple were working both on-screen roles as well as roles behind the screen doing more production. In 2008, the couple announced that they were pregnant with twins, and the family expanded from 4 children to 6 children overnight when Knox and Vivian were born later that summer. Despite having 6 children together, Brad still had not put a ring on it. Maybe Angelina just didn't want a ring because she saw how easily Brad could be stolen from a long-term marriage. Perhaps. 4 years after their twins arrived, Brad finally popped the question to Angelina Jolie with a ring worth over $1 million. The couple were married 2 years later in 2014, and Angelina wore a gown that was decorated by her children's artwork, which honestly, I have to admit, cute idea. Angelina Jolie filed for divorce from Brad Pitt, citing irreconcilable differences, and she requested the courts to give her physical custody of all 6 of their children and only grant Brad visitation rights. Little did anyone know this divorce would go on to be one of the longest drawn out and one of the most expensive divorces and one of the most highly publicized divorces in Hollywood history. Unlike his previous divorce from Jennifer, Brad was immediately vocal about his wife filing for divorce from him. He told the media that he was very sad about this decision and he requested privacy during this time. Karma responded to Brad Pitt with a smooth, yeah, right. Angelina later revealed that the reason that she filed for divorce from Brad Pitt was because of his violent temper and his issues with drinking. But the specific incident that was the catalyst for this divorce was a situation when the family was flying from France to California on their private jet, and Angelina and Brad got into a heated argument. Angelina shared with authorities that after Brad had a few drinks, he got very angry and very violent while the family was in the air, flying from France to California. This argument resulted in Brad allegedly becoming physical with his own children. Angelina shared with authorities that her and Brad were yelling at one another, and they were in the bathroom of their private jet at this time. And allegedly, Brad got so angry with Angelina, he grabbed her face and began shaking her head violently. Once he let go, Angelina shared that he began to punch the bathroom wall and ceiling multiple times, and she was able to slip out of the bathroom while he was repeatedly punching the wall and the ceiling. One of the 6 children who heard the argument and the punching of the walls going on ran to Angelina's aid as she slipped out of the bathroom. But allegedly, Brad immediately followed Angelina out of the bathroom and lunged at this child. This prompted Angelina to have to grab Brad from behind to stop him from harming their children. Brad then allegedly wrapped his hands around the neck of one of his children and then struck another of his children in the face in blind rage. Angelina then detailed that Brad began to pour alcohol all over her and their children. Him allegedly doing this caused over $25,000 worth of damage to the interior of their private jet. Federal authorities investigated this incident but chose not to bring any kind of criminal charges against Brad Pitt. CBS also became involved within the coming days of this alleged incident, and they opened their own investigation. The FBI even got involved, and they've never denied the allegations that Angelina has shared, but they did say that they were choosing to not bring any kind of criminal charges for many reasons. In their divorce proceedings, Angelina cited that she did not want to be in business with a man who had such a problem when it came to drinking, especially with one of their most lucrative ventures that they started as a couple being a vineyard that they both owned. Brad has admittedly spent a decent amount of time in and out of AA throughout his adult life and working towards sobriety. In my opinion, obviously, we have seen the media really try to make Angelina Jolie out to be a liar in this situation. And we all have our opinions about Angelina Jolie, but it would be criminally insane to lie about these allegations, especially with how detailed they are, how consistent her story was. As high profile and successful as she and Brad both are, it would be not in her best interest to lie about something so traumatic. I personally believe every word that she told the FBI and the authorities. The couple were declared legally single in 2019, but today, present day, 2024, the divorce proceedings are still ongoing. Brad and Angelina are still involved in a custody battle, as well as disputes over division of assets and properties. I guess this is what happens in Hollywood when you don't sign a prenup. This divorce has been extremely messy, extremely drawn out. We're not going to get into every detail of every petition and motion that has been filed in this messy divorce. What I do want to talk about is the fact that Angelina and Brad's lawyers leaned up. These celebrity lawyers likely have an hourly rate of anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 per hour. And they have been working on this for 6 years. I don't know if these lawyers are trying to extend their paychecks as long as possible, or if Brad and Angelina just literally cannot come to an agreement on anything. But a 6-year divorce and custody proceeding is insane. Almost all of their children are grown at this point. Either way, their lawyers are laughing all the way to the bank because Angelina and Brad have spent over $14 million in legal fees over the past 6 years. Brad stayed off the dating scene for about 2 years after Angelina Jolie filed for divorce from him. In April of 2018, Brad was spotted getting cozy with MIT professor Nuri Oxman, but the two never confirmed a relationship. It seemed to just be a little fling. Throughout all of this messy divorce, Brad's career continued to flourish in the entertainment industry. For acting, producing, directing, he won Golden Globes, MTV Movie Awards, Critics' Choice Awards, just to name a few. Wildly successful guy. He's been in movies such as World War Z, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Fury, and as poor of a character as he has shown to have in many situations throughout his life, no one is going to take away the fact that Brad Pitt is an extremely talented actor. In 2019, Brad and Jennifer Aniston sparked up romance rumors yet again when Brad attended Jennifer's 50th birthday party. A year later, they reunited at a red carpet event and did another project together, but they were very clear to the public that they were only friends and nothing romantic was going on, just buddies. They made it very clear that there was not going to be any kind of a rekindling of their relationship. But as we know, there are many Brad and Jennifer stans who would absolutely lose it if they got back together even today. But even more water was thrown on the public's idea that Jennifer and Brad may get back together when Brad began dating a model named Nicole Trolsky. I'm sorry if I'm butchering her name. And they began dating in late 2019. Saw each other for a few months, but they ultimately ended things in 2020. Also in 2020, Brad Pitt's son, Pax, who was about 17 years old at the time, took to social media on Father's Day to call his father, Brad Pitt, a world-class, a fucking awful human being. Pax has also accused Brad Pitt of making his life a living hell. He has even said, and I quote, "You have no consideration or empathy for your 4 youngest children who tremble in fear when they're in your presence." Something bad very obviously happened to this family. Something very traumatic happened within this family unit, within this dynamic, and I think it's been hid from the media and from the press very well, and I think that's a great thing because there are children involved. But I think we need to take a step back and see that something that damaged these children happened, and it shouldn't have happened. And there is a father who has been living estranged from his children for quite some time, and That doesn't just happen for no reason. Anyway, moving on. Brad also casually dated the model Emily Ratajkowski in 2022 after she divorced from her husband. And most recently, Brad is currently in a relationship with jewelry designer Inez de Ramon. The couple have been together since November of 2022, just a few months after Inez announced her separation from her husband, Vampire Diaries star Paul Wesley. Inez and Brad have about a 30-year age gap, with her being 30 and him being almost 60. But she's a grown woman. I have no comment. I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say about that age gap at all. So, in closing, Brad Pitt will probably always be beloved by the public. He will always be seen as the man who never ages and has graced the movie screens for years and years at this point. But that does not take away from the many controversial and problematic things that he has done throughout his career. And we should also keep in mind that Brad Pitt has very good PR. And genuinely, whatever the children in that home went through, because no one deserves to deal with any kind of the situation that Angelina Jolie alleged happened. Just throwing this out here, Pax, if you want to write a memoir, my name will be number 1 on the pre-sale. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next episode.